相信很多观众朋友都有听过萨摩亚这个国家，不过您或许会问，这个陆地面积只有2831平方公里，大概是比台湾的屏东再大一点点的南太平洋岛国，究竟是位在哪里呢？现在呢，我们在荧幕上可以看到的呢是整个太平洋的地图，可以分成密克罗尼西亚、马拉尼西亚还有波利尼西亚，而萨摩亚呢就位在正中间，大约呢是在我们比较熟悉的夏威夷还有纽西兰之间，同样是属于波利尼西亚，也和台湾的原住民族一样，都是属于南岛语系的民族。在公元前1000年，萨摩亚就已经有人定居了。其实根据快岛理论，不管是萨摩亚人，或是纽西兰的毛利人，或是往北边到夏威夷的原住民，这些波利尼西亚民族的共同祖先呢，其实是在5000年前呢，从台湾的东岸出发，快速的到各个岛屿之间迁徙，到了美拉尼西亚，又用非常强势的南岛文化影响当地的原住民族，最后融合扩散到了波利尼西亚。这也就是为什么，如果我们从语言学或是考古学的角度来看，波利尼西亚的族群处处都有南岛文化的特征。不过，如果在基因上看来呢，却有许多其他族群的痕迹。接下来我们可以看到这张照片，不管男女呢，他们都戴着草环或是花圈，穿着片裙。在萨摩亚语当中呢，花环称为乌拉，就像夏威夷语当中的累，或是卑南族语的阿布子，花环都是传统的南岛民族用来表达爱意或是装饰的东西。我们也可以看到呢，现在其实在布匹还没有传到萨摩亚的时候，萨摩亚人是像台湾的原住民族一样，用树的纤维或是树皮布做成片裙，就称为拉瓦拉瓦。我们现在看到这张照片，我们可以看到，其实不分男女老少，在萨摩亚人人都会穿拉瓦拉瓦。而且我们可以看到，在台湾原住民族社会广泛使用的编织草垫，其实也是萨摩亚的传统工艺，更是萨摩亚人的生活必需品。萨摩亚总人口数大约是20万人，族人占全国人口的90%。虽然过往曾经被德国还有纽西兰统治过，不过萨摩亚流传上千年的口述历史，还有考古文化以及他们的语言呢，都仍然保存得非常良好。在1962年独立之后的萨摩亚和纽西兰的关系仍然是非常密切的。事实上呢，居住在纽西兰的萨摩亚人口呢有8%，大多数是为了更好的工作机会而移居到纽西兰，大多是从事劳力的工作。萨摩亚移民社群也面临着许多经济、社会、政治，甚至是歧视上的挑战。而我们今天为您专访到的艺术家 Lana Lopesi， 就是在纽西兰出生长大的萨摩亚移民第2代。Lopesi 用文字、影像、印刷媒体，描绘着太平洋地区透过海洋而连结的过往和现在。从食物，他看到了不同民族之间经过时间而紧密交汇、转化而成的独特文化。而这样的多样文化生活背景，也成为 Lana Lopesi 的创作养分。
And for ages, I fought really hard to not be a Pacific artist. I didn't want that title on me. And then I realized very quickly that I couldn't shake it off. And I would try and talk about my work to people, and they couldn't help but read things into it about my identity, even if I wasn't making work about that. And then I kind of felt like that actually came from a place of not understanding diversity or cultures. And so that's when I started looking really closely into stories and histories, and just feeling like I needed to share that with people.
5月底，暑气刚起的台北午后，走在城市河岸，由老旧社区改建而成的艺术村。这是 Lana 以驻村艺术家的身份来到台湾的第3个月。
Well, I sort of had these fantasies about coming to Taiwan. Like, you know, I don't think about it as Asia. It's just, for me, it's just another Pacific island, and it was very much about coming home. But then when I came to Taipei, it just reminded me of my time maybe in China, but a bit hotter. And then it wasn't until we went to Taidong and the very first person we saw off the plane looked like us. Like me and my partner just looked at each other and said, "He's an islander." And I think it was something that seems really silly, but it kind of it's almost spiritual or something. And even
父亲来自萨摩亚，母亲来自加拿大，在纽西兰出生长大。透过艺术创作和书写，拉娜关注着移民劳动社群所面临的挑战、自我认同的形塑和年轻世代的溯源。
And so I wanted to see if there was any evidence of that in my blood through my dad. And actually the results came back and it said that traced my ancestral homelands to Europe, and there was no trace of my father's DNA at all. So there was nothing about being Pacific in there. And my dad has Chinese blood, and so that didn't get picked up at all. And so what that taught me actually is that DNA is very dangerous, and I think we don't understand what it is. And so if we rely on our DNA to give us our identity, I think it's just incredibly misleading, and especially for Indigenous people, I don't think it should be trusted. I think our identity is a culmination of things. I mean, to say that blood doesn't matter at all is also really dangerous, because then you could have anyone claim that they are anything, and that would just create almost a global no identity. So I think it's more that we have to open our minds, and it's not about nature or nurture, it's about both. And so our environment has just as much to do with who we are as our bloodline. But I think being a Pacific person, oratory is the key to to who we think we are. And before the Pacific was colonized, everything was shared only through talking. We didn't have a written culture. And so actually I think through talking to people who are still alive, your grandparents, you can kind of capture a lot more than DNA can tell you on its own.
这样的思辨反映在作品之中，透过文字，透过印刷媒体呈现。
We live and we operate in countries that are dominated by sort of these key languages. For me, it's English. For Indigenous Taiwanese, it's Chinese. So these languages they influence how we talk and write about our work, which is often very counter to who we are. It's very hard to frame our culture in a language that doesn't belong to ours. When we have our own terms, and when we translate that, we often lose something. It can't be the same. It can't always be the same. The Pacific Ocean within Western literature is seen as being a vast thing with tiny separate islands. But we know actually that we use the ocean maybe even more than we use the land. So that framework on the word Pacific is just completely inaccurate, I think, with how we actually lived our lives.
对Lana来说，艺术是让不同文化群体互相了解，也自我探索了解的重要媒介。要透过艺术说故事，就应该要使用观众可以理解的形式，而不是制造距离感。
In my own work, it's been understanding who my audience is. And so sometimes I want to make work that speaks to mainstream New Zealand and will maybe tell them about our stories. And so then it's that I think needs to be in a gallery space. But when I make work for a Pacific community, for me, the gallery is not helpful. It needs to go directly to them and be in a form that they can understand. I think art can be very intimidating, especially for a marginalized community. And so, I think we just need to think more about our audiences.
艺术的另外一项重要功能，就是让人对自己有更多的了解，借以知道自己是谁。 1970年代中期，纽西兰经济衰退，政府可以操作将人民对于景气萧条的愤怒移转到大批的太平洋岛国移工身上，形塑出太平洋岛民懒惰、酗酒、拖垮经济的负面印象，甚至允许警察在凌晨时分闯入民宅临检，突袭移工居所，并且立即遣返提不出身份证明的太平洋移工。这段黑暗而不光彩的历史，是纽西兰社会所不愿意面对的耻辱，对很多的年轻太平洋移民世代来说，更是无所知。
Young Pacific people now at that same age, 19, they have no clue that this was a thing. But actually, the social issues haven't changed very much. And so, what I wanted to do with that was to rebring that history to light, to empower a new generation of young people.Lana
是移民的第二代，曾经在一篇文章中写道，对来自萨摩亚的父亲而言，那些他在成长过程中自然而然就知道的原住民族文化知识，像是语言、礼仪和舞蹈，对 Lana 而言却必须要靠后天的学习。处在这样的移民社会世代差异之中， Lana 的作品也关怀着迁徙的轨迹在现代社会的痕迹。
And one of the big things was looking at the staple diets in both the Pacific and Asia as a signifier of migration across the ocean. So one of the things I was really interested about was the migration of Austronesian people when they first populated Polynesia, and they brought things with them like taro, which is, we have our own creation stories with that. So what that tells me is that it came with those very first people.But it's such a common food here as well. And so kind of trying to draw those connections. But there was a second wave of migration that had to do with labor. And so Chinese coolie laborers were a big labor force in Samoa in the 1900s. And so they brought with them things like rice and noodles. And as well, they brought sort of cooking technologies. So the pork bun, which we call kekepua'a, is what we think is an indigenous food, but when you look at that, everything about it tells you that it's Chinese. And so I was kind of trying to draw these connections with something so human as food, to talk about these wider stories of people, our people moving across the world.
带着对回家的期待来到台湾，却发现这里不是太平洋岛民们魂萦梦牵的家的样貌。直到去了台东，呼吸到了太平洋的清甜。Lana在台湾这个被太平洋南岛语族认为是起源之地的岛国，在那些不经意的角落，找到了跨越海洋的连结。
This photo I took in Taipei, actually at Stan Park, and that image there is a taro plantation in Samoa. So again, I sort of wanted to look at the idea of food and trees and sort of this kind of thing. I think both a Taiwanese audience would look at this and would feel maybe something familiar, and I think likewise a Samoan audience would look at these coconut trees and feel the same way, even though the settings you can tell are very different places. So I guess for me it's kind of trying to draw a distinction between homelands. And I think quite often we think of the Pacific and of Asia as very separate, but for someone with Austronesian ancestry, that's not a very helpful way to look at the Pacific Ocean. And there are very obvious connections between the two that don't go, you don't really need to look too far into history, you can just see it. That the coconut was originated by some form of head of either a person or an animal that got buried, which is why it has those three marks, sort of two eyes and a nose. So I found it really interesting that, from Indonesia to Samoa, or no matter sort of where the legend came from, even India, it all centered on the burial of some form of head to form the plant. And for me that was sort of evidence of a very long history of sailing and sort of connecting across the ocean. But what I wanted to do was sort of bring together all these different knowledge types, so bring together sort of post-colonial theory and academic theory as well as just stories and myths and legends and oratory and food to be equal. So kind of highlighting that we don't need all these different types of, we do need all these different types of knowledge, and one knowledge type isn't better than the other. It's more interesting if we bring them all together and see what can happen then.